Namaste and welcome to this exciting new episode of Satyology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study or science, Satyology means the science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means the science of fake lie imagination, study of fake lie imagination. Today we are going to talk about a very, very important place, very close to my heart. I wrote in my book, One Arrow, One Kill, on Sri Ram about that place in detail near Pampa Sarovar. And I have a very, very special guest today, and he is a traveler, not a tourist. He travels with his camera and speaks through his camera. And he and his wife have been doing human service to bring out these treasures in front of all of us. So without delay, let us welcome Sri Rajesh Kumar Singh.
So namaste again, Aditya ji. It's pleasure to meet you and all the learned persons in the audience. It's my pleasure to interact with them, though I can't directly see them. I'll just start sharing my slide.
So before you start off, Rajesh ji, one question is, how important is Kishkinda Kshetra to the world? And because Ramayana has a global spread, everything began in Kishkinda, and all the action part of Sri Ramayana began there. How important that place is for the world, and then you can continue to share your presentation.
Kishkinda is important for many regions, for India, for world also. We all know that the first epic poem, Ramayana, has its fourth chapter as Kishkinda Kand. And it's not a myth, it's not a falsehood. Kishkinda still exists. Whatever has been mentioned there, that is imprinted not only in the minds of the people through literary works, but if you go there, as I have done, and I'll show you, this has continued over the years. So those things which have been happened in Kishkinda, it establishes that Indian heritage and Indian culture has been preserved through not only books, not only through monuments, but the belief which there is imprinted in the mind of the people. So I'll start with my formal presentation. Basically, we can see this is a picture which I have taken. It's not from a monument, but from a very popular modern steel plant where I had happened to visit in the vicinity of this area. The whole area is known as Kishkinda Kshetra. It is from Bellary district. You can see Bhagwan Sri Ram and Bhagwan Hanuman hugging each other. Though they both are lost in their views, Bhagwan Ram is believed to be incarnation of Bhagwan Vishnu, and Sri Hanuman is believed to be incarnation of Bhagwan Shiva. So again, in a way, it emphasizes that all the human forms which exist in the earth or other jiv, in one way or other, they are representation of the supreme consciousness. And Indian culture manifests it in different parts. Kishkinda is very important, and we will see why for Indian context, because it gives credence to a lot of things which had happened in past and how people, though passing through adverse condition, can preserve their heritage and have preserved their heritage through their concerted efforts. Of course, I traveled in India in different parts to understand it. So I would have taken a lot of pictures and have selected some photographs to weave the story or my narrative. Now, where is Kishkinda in the modern time? Most of you must be knowing that, and I have talked about it, that a southern state of Karnataka of India, was ruled once upon a time by many rulers, and the last famous was Vijayanagar dynasty. Vijaya means to conquer, to win, and a city which was Hampi is the place where Vijayanagar dynasty had its capital. So the area nearby that, now Hampi is a village, and you will see a lot of ruins. In figure 1, you can see the Tungabhadra river. The river Tungabhadra flows here, and a lot of hills are there. Here you can see all around. And this is in figure 2, there is a model
Actually,
which is placed in
smaller.
this much.
Bus, that's it. That's it.
But it will show all, okay.
Yeah.
No issue. So shall I start, or
Yes,
will be
please.
again?
Continue. Please continue. From the first slide. Yeah.
So now where is Kiskindha? So what I was talking about is that, explaining that in the southern state of Karnataka, there is a Vijayanagar dynasty named after the dynasty which had ruled so very famously from this place. Krishnadeva was one of the famous ruler of this place. And if you stand anywhere in Hampi at a higher place, and there are so many places there, when you go there, you can see Tungabhadra river and a lot of hills or hillocks and ruins and rocks. In figure 2, there is a model which is placed in the Archaeological Museum, which is Archaeological Survey of India's museum in Kamalapuram in Hampi. And there you can see Tungabhadra is flowing here, and you have a lot of hills. So what is important is that these hills represent those which were mentioned in the very first epic, that is Ramayana, which was composed by the saint poet Sri Valmiki ji. And they exist there. As we all discuss in many of our discussion, that rivers may change their courses, but mountains don't do it. And these are the proofs that our ancestors did pass through it in Treta Yuga, which we believe, which is described in detail in Ramayana, and then later on different stories. And one very popular, which is in North India, is by Sri Goswami Das Tulsi, Ramcharitmanas. Being from North India, I can correlate much more with that. So let us travel to Hampi to understand more about Kiskindha today. In the Treta Yuga, the period during which Ramayana was written, Kiskindha was the kingdom which is believed to be ruled by the Banara kings, that is monkey kings. Sugriva, Bali, and others, Neel, Nal, Angad, these were the warriors of the Banara clan. But before we talk about these Banara kings who were contemporary of Sugriva and Bali, it's important to know that Sri Hanuman was born in Kiskindha. And that you can see very well. Amongst those hills which you could see in the very first slide, there is an Anjaneyadri. Anjana is the mother of Sri Hanuman. Kesari is father. And with the protection of the god, wind, Pavan, Hanuman, which is a reincarnation of Lord Shiva, took birth in this very place. And that place still thrives. When you travel towards Anjaneyadri, which is in a district from the Vijayanagar district, you cross, when you move from Hampi, you cross Tungabhadra. And when you travel from the road, you can see this hill, Anjaneyadri. Adri means hill, and it is named after Anjana, that is the mother of Sri Hanuman. And these are some of the pictures. When you move towards it, you can see there's a market selling pictures of Bhagwan, Hanuman, and related gods and goddesses. And when you enter here, you see Devi Anjana here. And when you see through different figures here, you keep climbing slowly about 600 odd steps,
कृत
some of them uncovered, some of them covered, and through a rocky terrain, the stairs would take you to the top, where
बहुत
there exists a temple,
बहुत
which is believed to be the place where Bhagwan Sri Hanuman was born. So you see, Indian traditions have protected their culture, which was described thousands of years ago. I mean, there's no dispute about that. There are contemplation when was Ramayana actually written, and you would hear to those deliberations. What I am trying to emphasize here is this, that those traditions have carried, they still exist in the heart of the people, in the mind of the devotees, and on the ground also. It's not that somebody would have created it few years ago. So to say these things are not correct is beyond truth. Now, if you stand here on this hill, you can have 360-degree view of the whole area. So you see, when you reach there, you climb, you become pure. The environment is pure. The view is so beautiful that you just pause there and become a part of divinity, which is nature. We have come from nature. We are part of nature. And you there are purest. You come across the purest form there. So now from there you can see, as I was describing, whole view of Hampi, 360-degree, because there you can move all around. It's so beautifully located. And you also see the structures, the ruins of the palaces, some of the temples and other structures which still exist in Hampi. And they, through their arts, do tell the story, and we will just see how they substantiate. Now, the influence of Hanuman is so pronounced there. Wherever you go in Hampi village or nearby area, not only in Anjaneyadri hill, you can see Hanuman in different form. Figure 1 is a ruined temple. You all must acknowledge that in India, a lot of destructions took place. And southern, this is in the middle of the Karnataka state, Vijayanagar dynasty was intentionally destroyed after the last king was Ramaraya was defeated by the Sultanate forces. Now, this has not been our traditions for long. We believe in creation, not in destruction. But even after so much of destructive forces, you can see, and this is very important to understand, that here is a ruined temple where Sri Hanuman is there. Another slab, you move towards a monument, you can see Hanuman. There is a slab which has been kept in the museum which I talked about, the archaeological museum in Kamlapur in Hampi. And outside also you see so much was the popular Hanuman here, that you see plenty of Hanuman figures here, and they have been collected here. So even the destructions could not destroy these manifestation of art these devotees had created. And this is outside display in the museum. Now the ruins don't only talk about Hanuman. Sri Hanuman was born there, but as we were discussing in the beginning of our discussion, that this place is a place where some important activities have taken place during Treta Yuga, when Ram was there, and they have been described in the fourth chapter named Kiskindha Kand. Now, they are also carved on the walls of temples which still luckily exist. There is a temple dedicated to Shiva, Virupaksha temple. Here I have shown two temples. This is a model which shows the ruins here. And in figure 2, you have Ram Hazara temple. Now it is believed that there are 1,000 displays of Rama's story here. And there are other meanings also. But what is more important is that on these walls, you can see the stories, tales described during Ramayana, finding representation. There are others from Bhagavad also. And this is Ram Hazara temple. This temple is dedicated to Sri Vishnu. This is to Devi, the goddess. And there is another temple, which is very popular temple. People do frequent these temples, and you can see there in both of them. This is Vithala temple. Vithala is the name of the Lord Vishnu. And here also in different mandapas, pillared halls, you will find carved panels, carved statues. This tells about the stories which devotees have carved and which we have been reading for time immemorial, I would say. Now, when you move from Anjaneyadri hill back towards Hampi, there are few places which still remind you the places which are mentioned in Sri Ramayana. Now, Srimad Ramayana in the Kiskindha Kand begins with the description of the Pampa Sarovar. As Rama and Lakshmana approach through Dandaka forest, Dandakaranya means Dandaka forest, in search of Sita, whom Ravana has kidnapped. They first come across this beautiful place, and it has been described in detail in Kiskindha Kand by Saint Poet Valmiki. Maya rochate Pampa. And there are a lot of things. Means, I am pleased to see this. You still find that place there. And there are certain temples around. Of course, these areas have suffered through neglect during the medieval period, that is 15th century onward. And few hundred years ago, nobody would go there. Otherwise, there is another aspect also which you shall relate, that water, as I have been described in my discussion, is a part of our tradition. We not only respect it, we also worship it in different form, and it helps in sustainability. Now, I'll narrate you some of the stories that when Sugriv, he sees these two warriors, that is Ram and Lakshman, from the place where he is staying, that is known as Rishyamukh Parvat. Sri Tulsidas in his Ramcharitmanas describes Aage chale bahuri raghuraya, Rishyamukh Parvat niyaraya. As Ram and Lakshmana moves, they see the Rishyamukh mountain, and from there Sugriva watches them. Now Sugriva gets afraid that who are these strangers? Why have they come to this deep forest? They don't belong to this place. So he sends his minister, which is none other than Sri Hanuman, to go there and to find that. So Tulsidas ji again describes Vipra Rupa Dhari Kapitah Gayo. Vipra means a learned person. So Kapi is monkey. So he describes that Hanuman, he takes the form of a learned person, and he approaches Ram and Lakshman. Here in the figure 1, you can see from one of the panels. And then he asks questions that, who are you? Why are you here? Whether you are God, who are you? So these questions he asks, and he tries to assess. Then, of course, Rama tells him that we are the son of Dasaratha and we have lost the Vaidehi, which is the princess of the Janak, daughter of Janak, and my queen of the Ayodhya, and my wife. So then Hanuman, when he comes to know about this, then he of course bows down and take them to Sugriva, who is residing there at the Ristimukh Parvat. In figure 2, you can see that both Ram and Lakshman, both Rama and Sugriv are in need of each other. Rama has been advised to go and meet Sugriv, who has a big force with him, army, and he will help in locating Sita. So he was traveling to this path. And Sugriv was terrified of his brother. That's a different story, the elder brother Bali. And he has got shelter into a mount which is known after Matanga, because Matanga Rishi has cursed Bali that if you come here, for a certain another tale that I'm not going to describe here, that if you ever come here, you will be a dead person. So that is the only safe place. And that's why Sugriv was terrified to see Rama and Lakshmana, the unknown persons, approaching here. So now when Hanuman takes these two to Sugriv, they both are in need of each other and they both get friendship with each other, and that friendship is solemnized in presence of fire. Now what a beautiful panel it is. In Indian tradition, fire is the purest form of nature, and anything which is solemnized in presence of fire, it sustains. You must have noticed that in Indian tradition, the marriages are solemnized around fire, and the bride and groom, they take around for 7 times for certain regions. There is scientific reasons for each one of them. It's not that it is done without any reason. So here also you see it, and it is described in Ramcharitmanas. Pavak sakhi dehi kahi jori preet hridahi. Pavak means Agni, fire. Sakshi, sakhi dehi. So in presence of fire, the friendship is solemnized, and Rama, both in Ramayana and Ramcharitmanas and different versions, establishes the importance of friendship. He says, Jen mitra dukha ho hi dukhari, tinahi bilokat patak bhari. Means friendship shall not be done for the sake of friendship. Now once we have become friends, so in your pain shall be my pain. And the friend, those friends who are not pained by the suffering of their friends, they go into trouble. And it is described in detail. So these panels establishes those aspects. Now, Sugriv tells how he is afraid of Bali, and Bali has taken his wife. So he pleads with Rama that you come and kill Sugriv and protect me. Rama assures him. Sugriv is not convinced, because when earlier Bali has killed the demon Mayavi, he was very strong. Then Dundubhi, the brother of demon Mayavi, he comes and attacks Bali. Bali is not bothered at all about by Dundubi and kills him very lightly. So Sugriv is not convinced of the prowess of his friend. So he asks him, Rama, to test his power. He doesn't say directly, but he says that Bali was so powerful. So can you please aim an arrow which can pass through 7 trees? So here you can see in figure 1, this small figure is Sugriva, and Rama is aiming his arrow, and this arrow is passing through the 7 sal trees. So this is another depiction which substantiates this story. And of course, then Rama then encourages Bali to go and fight, encourages Sugriv to go and fight with Bali. Sugriv goes, descends down from Matang Hill and Rismukh, and he challenges Bali, the king of the then Kiskindha, that come Bali, fight with me. And then Bali defeats Sugriv. And Rama could not do anything. Sugriv comes back and asks, "Oh Ram, you did not kill Bali, you did not save me." And then Rama explains that both the brothers, you look so alike that I got confused. So then what Lakshman do? He tears a creeper and put it around the neck of Sugriv, to distinguish them. And now this time Rama again says that, Sugriv, you go and fight with Bali, challenge him again. Sugriv does that, and then Rama kills Bali. And in in figure 2, you can see the sequencing is a bit here and there. Here you can see Rama with his bow. Bali is in the lap of Tara, his wife, and Angad, the son of Tara and Bali, is standing nearby. Now, there are certain fundamental questions which have always been raised in Indian tradition. In Indian tradition, in Indian narratives, in Indian books, you will not find that things are forced as it is, that you believe on it. And those examples you'll see time and again, whether it is in Bhagavad Gita, where Arjun goes on asking set of questions till he's convinced. Here, Bali complains to Rama. He says, धर्म हेतु अवतर ही गोसाई, मारे हूं मैं हूं बाध की नहीं. O Bhagwan, O Sri Ram, you have taken this incarnation to protect the righteousness, the dharma. And you have killed me like a hunter hiding behind a tree. Then Rama explains. And this is very important to understand. And Tulsidas ji, because that's what I correlate. Valmiki has also explained in detail. Anuj Badhu Bhagini Sutanari Sunu Satha Kanya Samaye Chai. He says, "Oh Bali, listen carefully. Anuj Badhu means wife of younger brother. Bhagini means sister. Sut means son, the wife of son. Any foolish person, any person who keeps bad intention towards daughter, the wife of son, sister, a wife of a younger brother, which Bali had done in this case. He has taken forcibly Sugriva's wife after vanquishing him from the Kiskindha. He said, if one kills them, there is no other. There is no path. Means it is correct to kill such a person. Bali realizes his mistake. He seeks forgiveness not only from Rama, but also from Sugriva. And he requests Sri Rama to take care of the Angad. Tara, the wife of Bali, is very keen to die with his husband. She says, we have come together, we live together, and my life shall also end with my husband. But Rama and Bali both not only console her, but tell him that it is very important for you to live for the welfare of your son. So you see, Rama is not killing Bali just to help Sugriva. Of course, he is helping, but for a righteous cause. Bali has committed a mistake, but once he is killed, he has no ill intention to him. Not only he get crowns through Lakshmana, because Rama doesn't travel to any town or village, because he has given a word to his father to stay in forest only for 14 years. So he tells Sugriva that you have to take care of your public, your citizens, Praja. And Angad was also appointed as Prince Regent. It's not that he was son of Bali, so he was vanquished from the kingdom. So Rama would always establish the right things and he will set an example for the same. Now, what happens? It was monsoon season, as you might have read, those of you who would have read. So Rama says, okay, now Sugriva, you have become king, you rule, you be in comfort. And after monsoon season, that is rainy season, which we call monsoon also in India, after rainy season, please don't forget my task, attend to it, and help me in searching Sita. However, Sugriva is lost in his pleasure. So Rama tells Lakshman that, brother, Sugriva seems to be forgotten. Sugriva seems to have forgotten the promise which he had given to me, and he had not come back to me. Now, listening to this, Lakshmana becomes very angry. He said, I will go and kill Sugriva. So Rama consoles, no, you don't have to kill him. You go and explain to him, and that he shall see reason. So here in the figure 1, there is a panel from the temple. You can see that Lakshman is moving very ferociously with bow and arrows in hand. Then Angad comes. When Sugriva comes to know of this, he sends Angad, the prince, that go and pacify Lakshmana. Lakshmana is pacified not only by Angada, but also by Tara. And by the time he reaches Kiskinda, the palace, Sugriva has already sent Nala, is one of the other ministers, to send messages to his Banar warriors to gather near Rama's abode. Now, in the second panel, which is figure 1 again, the bottom one, you can see that Rama and Lakshmana are sitting here, Hanuman is here, and Sugriva is praying and assuring Rama that, kindly forgive me, I did commit a mistake, but now I have gathered all my forces, and he dispatches his forces in 4 directions. Now, in east, he sends Vinat. Towards west, he says Susen. These are the leaders. Certain portion of his army is sent there. In north, he sends Satbali, and towards south, he assigns the role to the task of searching Sita to Hanuman. He also sends Angad, Nal, Neel, and Jamant. Because there was more probability, as per their understanding, that Sita would be there. And he describes to all of them. It is very important to note. Sugriva describes to all of them, all these 4 contingents, the trajectory, the geography, where you have to go. Rama is surprised. How come you know about the geography of the areas worldwide? Sugriva says that it's because when Bali was angry with me and I was running around the world, he was following me. So that was the time when I could gather the information. So see, there is a logic also. Sugriva gives 1 month to each of the contingent that do come and report within 1 month. Otherwise, you will be killed. Now the contingents do move, but before the southern contingent moved, Sri Rama gives his signet ring. He takes the signet ring from his finger and gives, here you can see in figure 1, Rama sitting here and giving his signet ring to Hanuman. The same thing is depicted in a better way. Here you can see Rama is sitting here along with Lakshmana and giving his signet ring. So that Rama has this belief that Hanuman will be the person who will be able to accomplish the task of discovering Sita and reaching to her. So he gives his signet ring and says that when you will show it to Sita, then she would be convinced that Rama does take care and Rama is somewhere, is ready to come and to protect you. Because she would not recognize Hanuman. And just I'll quote one slok. Till now, I have been telling you verses from Chopais from Ramcharitmanas. That Rama was so joyful while giving this. Dadau tasya tatah pritah swanam ankopashobhitam anguliyam abhigyanam ragyaputya paritapah. Dadau tasya tatah pritah. With a lot of love, Rama gives his Swanam, where his name, Anko Pusobitam, where his name has been carved, Anguliyam Abhigyanam. Anguliyam means ring, as a token of, Abhigyan means as a token of recognition that it belongs to Rama. Ragyaputra, the daughter of King Janaka, who is suffering. So you see the panels from the temples which I have taken, they narrate the story. And Indian tradition has been so rich in telling narratives not only through literary work, but through art forms also, because divinity is there. And devotees were so passionate to show these things. So even there have been a lot of attempts to destroy and nullify the importance of our ancient heritage. We have been able to protect them to a large extent, and a visit to Kiskandha do establish it formally. And when you read the Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas, or other versions of Rama, you do correlate with those tales. And finally, Hanuman does reach Sita. And here you can see Sita is there in Ashok Vatika and Hanuman is praying there. So this was the narrative for Kiskindha, the events which has taken place, and they are still manifested even after so much of destruction. So that's all about the presentation today. Thank you very much.
So, Rajesh ji, very important thing which comes to the mind here is the Kishkinda, such an important place for all of us. Somehow it is missing from our maps. And one problem is that tourism maps, one problem also comes in that when these places get overdeveloped, then commercialization sets in. It has both pros and cons. Pros is that the revenue comes in, and the con is that the spiritual side of the place vanishes. So especially when it comes to Kishkinda, it's a launching pad to go to Ravan, to reach Ravan, to Lanka. So did you notice any kind of when you took these pictures, and for the viewers, these are live pictures, these are not something taken from a website. Now, when you visited this place, did you notice something from Valmiki Ramayana, something which you saw that it is still there?
A lot of things. In fact, I have started reading Valmiki Ramayana again. And as I told you, the very first passage, it starts with the description of Pampa Sarovar. And you see Pampa Sarovar there.
That's right.
There is a Sarovar. There is all other things also. And whatever has been described in Kiskindha Kant, all those hills are also there. I mean, they are not in that form. It can't be that after so many thousand years you will see them. But it very much correlate with the description in the Kiskindha Kant. And to the observation which you say that this is not in the map, yes, it's very right. In fact, not much effort was done to connect Hampi. You would go to Bangalore, but Hampi is 350 kilometers. And I have been traveling for so long, for 30 years, but only 6 months back, I went there, though I knew about Hampi. But I took my family, I mean, the extended family there, so that you see, there are a lot of values which have been. Kiskinda signifies a lot of value. One is its birthplace of Hanuman, that in itself is greater than anything. People will go and you can see the devotees climbing 600 steps. It's almost vertical, but you can see old women, even in my family, I mean, the people would, but they will go there. And this is the strength of experiential belief faith. And you come regenerated. Second thing, most of the places are protected under Archaeological Survey of India, and Government of India has taken cognizance recently, and they have created a separate circle there. You will be happy to know that now Hampi is a separate circle. I mean, you will have a dedicated office there. Now, to the question which you say, yes, of course, we have to make a balance because these places they have divinity associated with them, and they also preserve our heritage. So, commercialization shall be to that extent that it facilitates the movement of people who go there. Their life is comfortable. In fact, there were some incidents which pure tourists will do along Tungabhadra and they will not believe in these religions. Government have taken cognizance that and it stopped those activities. People, I mean, will indulge in some not very so good activities in the night, etc. Because there are many people who doesn't have to do anything with these faith and beliefs. So there has to be a balance, and I think government must be and the authorities would be conscious of that fact.
So one of the things which comes in the mind is especially Kishkinda, and I'm planning to visit that in May. And one of the things which comes in the mind is that the Valmiki Ramayana has more details than Ramcharitmanas. You know, in terms of what exactly is the place, how is the topography of the place, and it goes to such minute details that just by reading Valmiki Ramayana, I had a picture of it. And when I saw your pictures, is exactly matches what is mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana. Probably the height has been reduced, but the descriptions are the same. And the distance between the Kishkinda mountain and the Pampa Sarovar is exactly the same. And Pampa Sarovar is the same place of Shabri. Ashram is also there, even today, right?
Yeah, Sabri Ashram is there. I did not talk about that because it was not part of the narrative, but it's adjoining that. And there is a cave where you can go and people are there, they are cooking. So I have pictures of that. You are very right that Valmiki Ramayana describes it in detail. On Pampa itself, there are so many verses.
So many verses.
Rama describes it in detail, and Rama, see, there has been a myth created that Rama, after coming to Ayodhya, forgot Sita, he vanished him. If you read Valmiki Ramayana, the kind of love which Rama displays in Kiskinda, I mean, the pain which he suffers, because he has taken a form of human. He is not in the form of Vishnu. And whenever you see birds moving here, chirping there, the flower blossoming, he feels those pain. Oh, I am missing Sita. I am missing Sita. And it's very true. See, you have to read Valmiki Ramayana to understand Kiskinda. He describes all these things in detail. The places, and also the philosophies like what is the importance of friendship. Rama explains statecraft to Sugriva. He knew that Sugriva will, after having got this kingship, he will just forgot his duties. So I was motivated to read Kiskinda after my visit, and it has helped me in understanding Kiskinda.
I have captured the entire in detail in my book, One Arrow, One Kill. And if Kishkinda is so accurately described, and distances are like One thing it literally blows my mind is Valmiki has captured such accurate details of the topography of Bharat and actually the whole world. So if Kishkinda is so accurately described and it just takes a logic and reasoning, then how will South America is accurately described also? Udaygiri. Now he captures the entire east coast of South America, how Sugriva's armies went there, including the boundaries of the east direction or the west direction and the north direction, the south direction. So, viewers will immensely benefit. It's like, if you want to check whether the rice is cooked or not, pick up one grain and that's it. And the entire rice is cooked. So if you know the distances are so like the distances are Shri Ram ko ek raat laga pahad cross karne ke liye. He took one night to cross over the mountain. Today you may take 3 nights, but you will cross in 3 nights. Just multiply 3 or 4 times in whatever the time period mentioned there. But the places are sequential. Pampa Sarovar, Kishkinda, and then Janasthan. From Janasthan he's coming south.
Yeah, right.
So and from Janasthan, and also the distances mentioned between Ayodhya and the birthplace of Janak Maharaj's kingdom, Mithila, it's so accurate. So I will continue this part, and we'll go start. If you have more presentations on this, we'll go south and we'll go Pampa Sarovar also in the next presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for the viewers for watching. Do comment, and like Rajesh ji said, do read Valmiki Ramayana if you want to get the geographical side of Sri Ramayana. And that is one of my favorite books. I've been reading for so many years, but Kalyuga memory, we keep forgetting everything. And so again, you have to go back and read, again refresh. And today I'm again going to read this book, even though I've written about it, but still I've forgotten many parts of it. I'll read again. Thank you so much. Namaste, and thank you all the viewers.
Thank you, Aditya ji, and thanks to everybody.